Palmetto State Armory. If you guys, everybody who's been into guns knows Palmetto State Armory. They have a very robust online catalog. As the years have gone, Palmetto State, in my opinion, has definitely come to the table to compete with the other online retailers. This is the PSA 15 lower, and I want to say this is the 16-inch cold hammer forged 16-inch barrel, A2 flash hider. I do not remember what they call this rail, but the gun weighs nothing. It is a very lightweight rifle, single-side safety. The gun did not come with a charging hand or a bolt. Of course, I have plenty of rifles, and I added that myself. I added the Midwest flip-up iron sights because when Primary Arms sent the new RD25 to us for review, they've been great supporting the channel. I deal with a lot of small-town Middle America law enforcement. A lot of guys buy plate carriers from us, they Safari and holsters, and I'm always meeting chiefs, assistant chiefs, armors, patrol officers who are with departments that are 8, 9, 12 guys sometimes. My buddy Chris, who just became chief of his agency, they have 7 officers there. And it's always a struggle for money. And my buddy Chris, the other Chris, is in Rhode Island. He is trying to help his local PD, and they have been trying to upgrade their rifles for some time now. Even though these departments don't have some of the same problems as Middle America does in regards to active shooter, active killer, they are very much forward thinking in regards to making sure their officers have the proper tools to deal with any threat that may arise in their communities. And one of the ways to do that is a patrol carbine in the vehicle. So we've been talking back and forth, and I honestly forgot I had this rifle in the safe. And it was one of those guns that we had planned to do some different reviews. You're going to see a second review on this because we've got some other optics. We wanted to put together a 16-inch sub-$1,000 SPR rifle. And that's what this concept was going to start with. And then when I got the RD25, it kind of dawned on me and Chris and I were having a conversation about the PD he's been working with, and that's what sparked me for this one here. So at 750, we get a lot of features on that. Before I get into all of that and showing you how this shoots and telling you how this shoots, let me tell you about what we do. We're a soft goods manufacturer. We've been specialized in plate carriers, belts, canine gear for the last 13 years. We have a full line of Safari and holster mods, and most of you out there who know of RDR know of us through this YouTube channel, our Instagram page, and most importantly, our Safari and holster mods. We modify holsters for 2011s, HKVP9s, P30s, VPN Tacticals. We have a full line of TQ accessories, straight drop mods, TQ mounting solutions, all to enhance the performance of the Safariland duty holster, which leads me to the reason why I have so much interaction with local law enforcement and law enforcement around the state. All those products you can find on our website at rdrgear.com. Before I get too much into the parts and pieces on this rifle, let's go to the range and shoot it. This here, I'm going to break down the 3 components of this rifle that I purchased. Again, it's a PSA 15 lower, standard stock lower, Magpul stock. I do not know what the name of this rail is. I know it's a Primary Arms proprietary rail. It has M-LOK 3, 6, and 9. These rails are inexpensive because even though they have these taller kind of rail segments here, I have no idea why this 1913 is there, but they do have a 1913 to put your flip-up iron sights, and we'll discuss why these are on here in a minute. But this kind of 132 o'clock is pretty much useless. It's all for decorative. But it does make for a very narrow handguard, which is a good and a bad thing. It allows a very good purchase, but it also, closer to the barrel, it gets hot. This would, if we would have shot 1 or 2 more magazines, I would have definitely had to have a glove. So this would benefit from some rail panels on a 3, 6, and 9. But again, you're going to have some heat dispersion up top here. So again, take into consideration 2 consumers of this rifle. The civilian consumer, maybe this rail gets swapped, right? Or it is a gloved hand that you run this rifle with. At the end of the day, that's your preference. The law enforcement consumer, that heat is probably not going to be an issue because you're going to be running this gun a couple times a year in your quarterly quals. Nothing too crazy there. The upper receiver, standard. Lower receiver, standard. Single side safety, standard mil-spec trigger. I added a radiant charging handle to it with the bolt, and then I added the Midwest Industries flip-up sights. The reason I added the sights was to pair with the new Primary Arms Classic Series RD25. This is a new optic from Primary Arms. They sent us this here for review, as well as the new 3-18 they have coming out. And I've had these for a minute now, and now they're out in the wild. This is a very phenomenal optic for 2 things. It's $129 retail price, and it is a dual control optic, side load battery. It has a similar adjustment, 0.5 MOA, similar to aim point style, and it has a QD mount that comes with it. And this doesn't require any crazy cheek riser. It's a standard height. And in Utah, for example, many of the agencies, for patrol carbines, the iron sights must co-witness with the red dot. And so when I use these iron sights, I have a 25-yard, I have a 100-yard red dot 0, and then I have a 25-yard iron 0, and I literally just drop my face on the rifle, and I can co-witness through. The RD25, I like this a lot because I like this bigger aperture. Not so much bigger dot or bigger window. Rifles, we all know, dot size is irrelevant. You can run an Acheron here, P2, whatever. But what it does, it is a very crisp dot. It has an auto shutoff, no auto on, but at the end of the day, that's something to simply, if you're deploying a rifle, you hit that +1 time, the dot is on. So it is a very, very crisp dot. The rifle shot phenomenal today. Gritty trigger, sure. No A2 flash hider, standard, typical stuff. But for what this rifle is at $750, there's a much greater budget in there to upgrade to a weapon light now. By using something that's RD25 in the classic line at $130, I now can run roughly $550. Have that budget, I can easily get into a surefire weapon light with some type of 107 switch, a red dot on a rifle, and I can have a very, very capable 16-inch patrol carbine. I didn't get too much distance accuracy testing out of this today. We just ran some close-up bill drills, multiple target stuff, things that we're gonna run a rifle to deal with. This will have a secondary view. I'll do some more stuff with this rifle, and we'll get into some little bit of distance. We'll push this, the LE standards of engagement, maybe 50, 75, 100 at the max, and then we'll do some things in an SPR format with a different optic on here, and we'll really kind of see what this rifle can do with the same factory barrel. So final thoughts, it's something that's different, right? I don't want to sound bougie when I say this. I've never owned a rifle this inexpensive. When I was younger, I was into the whole brand thing. I had to have the one that I thought was cool. This is long before social media. And as the business grew, I didn't have to kind of pinch pennies, so to speak. But I also wasn't one of those guys who's going to go out and buy, a Knight's rifle for $4,000 when the MSRP was $1,599. I think I paid $1,800 for my very first SR-15 back in the day. So it's just one of those things that I'm not hindered by too much of a wallet restriction, but I'm also smart with what I purchase. This was an experiment that I'm still going to do with the 16-inch SPR, and it was supposed to be our $1,000 SPR build. It would have been a base rifle with an optic, and I already owned the bipod, and I was going to upgrade the trigger, upgrade the muzzle device to potentially run a suppressor on it, and we were going to kind of compare this with 2 other rifles in the SPR market, which we're still going to do. It'll be at later this year, but when I was talking to my buddy Chris from Rhode Island, and then this came from Primary Arms, it really got me thinking back to these officers who are trying to stretch this budget. Once I finish that second review, I'm going to reach out to Chris, and if the agency is open to the idea, I am going to send this rifle to Chris, transfer it to his FFL out there. He'll take possession of it there, and then he is their local armorer. He does a little bit of coaching, training within that department. Him and the chief are very close, and this will be something that Chris can take out to their department and let them run this rifle and look at putting this one together. So before it goes out to Rhode Island, you'll see one more review of this rifle in a fully kitted patrol ish type loadout. Plan will be to have a blue force padded sling. We'll have a same A2 flash hider. Only thing we're going to upgrade will be the weapon light. We're going to keep the standard trigger. We're probably going to maybe run a bad lever and an ambi safety, because I don't know who's left or who's right out there. And I may just send a box of parts to Chris, since he's an armorer. He can put all that stuff together. But I think this could be a rifle that agency could get into for around $1150, complete, with a bag, magazines, and some duty ammo. And they could start out with 6 rifles this year, and then next year get 6 more. And I think that's a great way for these guys to be able to get into a patrol rifle for under $1,200. Because in most places are 14 to 15 is your minimum. But again, with the RD25 coming at the price point it does, I think this is a great optic for that middle America patrol rifle that's not seeing a ton of use. It's mostly living in a patrol vehicle in a rifle bag. And for anybody who's out there looking for your first rifle, you just turned 18, you want to get a carbine, you're looking to kind of pinch some pennies, this thing is phenomenal. It's a great optic. You don't have to worry about big brand names for what you get feature-wise out the box. 3MOA dot, 25mm tube, the throw lever. This gives you a very good shoulder pocket. You see a lot of this conversation on Instagram, YouTube. That gun comes right up to the head, and you are good to go. And it shot lights out today. You'll see the video. It's a little bumpy, a little crunchy, because again, we have an A2 flash hider on there. Trigger's not the greatest. It's a pretty heavy. You can see how, right? So it's not the cleanest trigger in the world. But once it gets to that wall, you'll get that first wall, kind of second wall, shot breaks. It's a very heavy trigger. That's something that you could get used to over time. If you look at guys like Mil-Spec Mojo, dude smashes all day with a government mil-spec issued trigger. So again, this is a great avenue for the Middle America law enforcement officer, as well as the first-time individual who's looking to get into a 16-inch carbine for recreational use, matches, etc. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Post 2 to 3 videos every week on Give the Review, Give the Manufacturer. Until next time, be well, take care.